I'm often asked about travelling with your rats. Now, travelling with rats is something that we avoid at all costs unless we have to go to the vet, and that's because rats, I think it's very stressful for them to keep getting moved about from one place to another. It's very hard to get a really good rat carrier that's suitable for longer journeys. So we avoid travelling with our rats. What we do is we make sure there is always someone who is in our home to care for our rats while we're away. But as that doesn't occur very often, we very rarely go away. It's not a major problem for us. So the first thing I would suggest to you is, rather than traipse your rats backwards and forwards on a regular basis, that if there is somebody who, if you share a house with somebody, that you get them used to handling your rats and make sure they know the routine. And that would be the ideal thing, that they would actually come and talk to your rats and feed them and make sure they were okay and check them several times a day for you. Alternatively, if you haven't got someone at your home, if you have a friend who keeps rats, that's your next best alternative, is to take them to a friend's house so they're still in their same cage, and preferably let them get to know the friend beforehand, or a family member. But that would be my first option. We would keep our rats at home. We would have someone stay at our house. And I say it doesn't really apply to us, but if you have to travel regularly, then maybe rats are not really the right pet for you, I have to say, because rats need your company. They don't like things keep chopping and changing. They like their routines. So the first thing is, yes, you do need a carrier. And I get people who say, I can't afford a rat carrier. If you can't afford a rat carrier, then you shouldn't get the rats until you can afford a rat carrier. It's in my basic list of equipment. If your rat is sick, it needs to go to the vet. You can't just pick a rat up and pop it in your pocket or something and take it to the vet. It needs to be in a safe carrier. Also, have you thought about what would happen if you had to evacuate your home? There could be a flood or some other thing, and therefore you need a carrier to keep your rats safe in. Now, we always use the Furplast Aladino carriers. We've tried lots and lots over the years. Unfortunately, all the unsafe ones we've thrown away, so I can't show you them. We did have a little bird carrier, which we never used outside the house. We only used it inside the house. But bird carriers are not suitable for taking out of the house. They're too flimsy. There's no shelter for the rats because the bars are all the way down the sides. So no cardboard boxes, no bird carriers, and no fabric carriers, because obviously they'll get chewed through. So with the Furplast, the reason we use them is they're strong. This one is 7 years old and is still fine. It has a few scratches on it, but that's all. They come apart in different pieces, and you have to you just carefully slot them together and get all the pieces slotted in, and then it will be very safe and secure. I also like the handles on the Furplast carrier, rather than just one handle on the top. It's quite securely locked in there. There's very little movement. Once they're pushed into place, don't try and take them out again. You can clean this carrier quite safely by cleaning it with it in one part. You don't have to take all the bits apart to clean this carrier. Excuse me. Yes, so make sure that any handles and straps are secure. You can get some carriers that have handles and also a carrying strap, which can be quite useful. But just always be careful, and if you can, not only hold the handles but support underneath. Now, if it is a very cold day, then you can put your carrier inside a cardboard box as well. And if it's a very hot day, what we would do is get one of these flat ice blocks, put it in a plastic bag, wrap a tea towel around it, put that in the base of a small box, and then we would just sit our carrier on top. Now, this box just fits nicely so that the carrier is not sitting right on top of the ice block. There's a little gap, but never put an ice block inside your actual cage, and check regularly if it's getting too cold. Put an extra towel in or take the ice block out and don't use the ice block. Never let your rats get too cold or too hot. Some people travel with using hamster cages, which are not good on public transport, but hamster cages can be really good in your car because you can actually strap them in. And I know some people strap these carriers in as well by getting a piece of like thick cord, wrap it around the handles, and then they sort of attach it to the seat belts somehow. But whatever you do, never leave one of these just sitting on the back seat. Never leave it in a boot because of fumes. The best way that we do is one of us will sit in the back of the car if we're using a taxi, and we will actually have this on the seat next to us and hold the handles all the time, so that it can't joggle about if there's an emergency stop. So just be very careful where you place the carrier inside the transport, and never let go of it, never leave it just to wobble about on its own. With the hamster cages, you need to remove any hamster toys and things that are too small for the rat to go in. Never leave like the little tunnels and things. The hamster cage, if you're going to use one, have one with bars. Not one that's got like the plastic top to it. There won't be enough ventilation. And I think with the hamster cages, you know, they don't put a separate house inside, because if there's a sudden emergency stop, the rats can actually get crushed between the house and the side of the hamster cage. And what we'll always do is we will put some Back to Nature in the bottom, lots of paper, more than that, I've just put a little bit in to show you, and we will put some carrots and cucumber down on the side by the water bottle, and we will put some nuggets in the paper for the rats to find. And this is a travel little dish thing here. Now if you're using a hamster cage, they're ideal because you can slot that onto the bars, but don't use any loose ceramic dishes because they're very heavy and they can injure your rat if there's an emergency stop. Now there's two ways that we can put a water bottle onto this carrier. The first one is, this is too big, this bottle, but it's the only one I could get that has a little hanging loop. But if you can get this size with that size hanging loop, you can use the little wire attachment for the bottle and actually just fix it through the slots at the top here. But it needs to be the small size. But that's not the best way to do it, because that's wobbling about and it can, your rats could get their heads bumped on it. So the way that we've found is the best way is to get the small bottle here. And we have a little wire which came from another drinking bottle that has a little clips on it, and we're supporting that bottle at the top. Then we've got two of these little coated wire from the water bottles, and we've twisted one around here, around these little clips, to hold the bottle top at the top very secure. Then at the bottom we have another bottle carrot holder, and we've just clipped that to the outside of the cage. Now that holds the bottle fairly securely, and so make sure your bottle's not dripping, and that's the best way that we've found of attaching a bottle to the inside of this type of carrier. Now I've been given this bottle by a friend as an example. This is a critter canteen. It's not one that we normally use, but if you can't or don't want to fix the bottle that way, on this giant size rabbit Aladino, the slots here are just big enough for this long spouted bottle to be pushed through. Now it won't stay secure on its own for very long. You will have to hold it, so it's not good when you're walking around, but if you're actually sitting on the train or in the car, you could put the bottle in there and hopefully the rats will drink out of it. But it is a bit high, I can't get it to go all the way down. So that was just another way of attaching a water bottle. And this is the, I can't remember if I said at the beginning, but this is the rabbit size. It's ideal size, the smallest size that we actually use now. So it's the Aladino large rabbit size carrier by Furplast, and the smaller one we only used when we used to have 2 rats, That was a very long time ago, and that was the guinea pig size, but don't use anything smaller than the guinea pig size. So that one you can fit 2 rats in comfortably. This one, if you take this bottle, don't have the hanging bottle, you can fit 4 rats in there for a short journey, and they'll be fine, you know, for a visit to the vets. And I'm going to split this video into parts because it's going to go on too long. So that's just the basic bit of the actual carriers. The next part is going to be what you do with your rats when you get to your destination.